I wanted to talk about the film a little bit, and Mark Houck in particular, because his story is mentioned in your film. And for the people who are not familiar with the story, Dinesh, I was wondering if you could just kind of go over that story and how it started and what happened to him with the FBI.
Well, yeah, it's a really good story for the simple reason that it answers the objections of people who say, I'm not Donald Trump. I didn't go in the Capitol on January 6th. I pay my taxes. I'm a law-abiding guy, so I don't have anything to worry about. So here you've got this Mark Houck fellow in Pennsylvania, and he's a dad, and he's a pro-life guy, and he thought it would be really good to take his son to these clinics, and the two of them together, father and son, would do the work of like trying to counsel people. Listen, don't do this. It's not a good idea. There are a lot of alternatives available to you. In any event, he goes on this particular day. Well, turns out he doesn't run into any women, but one of the counselors in the clinic, a Planned Parenthood clinic, comes out and starts accosting him and starts engaging his son and insulting the dad in front of the son. So the dad kind of gets his dander up and pushes the guy. It was almost like an involuntary reaction. Now, normally it's like you shouldn't do that. The guy kind of falls back, but he isn't injured in any way. He files a complaint, but the complaint goes nowhere. It's thrown out by the court. The guy doesn't even bother to show up. And then the federal government swoops in. Mark Houck is arrested. He's accused of violating the FACE Act. Now, what is the FACE Act? It basically says that you cannot disrupt reproductive services being provided in a clinic. Now, Mark Houck did not, in fact, do that. It wasn't like a troop of women were going in to get their abortions and Mark Houck somehow blocked them and got in. Nothing like that at all. This was just a kind of a scuffle over a dad being sort of insulted in front of his son. And yet he's facing, I forget the amount, but something like 15 years in prison. And the way the government operates is that they use the plea bargain as a kind of bludgeon, which is you're facing 15 years, but we'll give you 5 years or 3 years if you basically sign right here, and then you can get your life back. But Mark Houck was so hardcore, he's like, no, I will not do it. I'm going to go before the jury. I'll take my chances. And so think about it. This was a guy facing complete ruination, a complete sort of destruction of his family. And the jury took one look at it. And in this case, the story has a happy ending, although many other stories don't. The jury, in a very short time, came back, acquitted him of all charges. He's now a free man. He describes his story in the film. And part of it, we cinematically recreate in the film. We actually hired some FBI consultants to recreate FBI raids with such authenticity that anyone who sees the film who's in law enforcement or the military or in the DOJ is going to go, that's exactly the way that would go down.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And you guys all need to see it and see that reenactment. But with Houck, Tom asked the question about him, brings up his story. It seems like with him and a lot of other people, there's so many cases, in fact, we could spend more time than I know you have, but there's so many cases that it seems like they just are kind of trying to intimidate them, humiliate them
in front of their neighbors.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that our perception, or do you think that's part of the tactics being employed by the FBI?
No, I think that the FBI very consciously does these things.